Hand you over. Hey, Steve and Andy, what happened today?
Hello, Scott. A grind higher. I'll talk about that in a second. Actually, no, I didn't mean to say that. We'll talk about that in a second. What happened today? Hello, Andy.
Hey, Steve. Hi, Scott. Hi, everybody out there. Nice crowd.
Yeah, another Tuesday in lockdown, which means we have a inflated webinar attendance, more so than usual. People are all, my neighbors outside, learning how to garden better. I'm in here learning how to play songs better on the bass and the guitar from YouTube, and sorry about that. And I am learning new things as well. But my point is, people are learning how to trade stocks. They're coming in saying, it's something I've always wanted to do, and since I can't leave the house unless it's essential, so to speak, let's tune in and learn how to kind of make sense of the market. And you guys have come to the right place, because Trade Ideas really does help you make sense of the market. If you're brand new, we'll talk about at the end here a 2-week promotional test drive that we have to try the product for $9. But stick around for that if you're not a current user. But now we'll try and create some value for what it is that we are talking about. But before we do that, and as people continue to follow, we're not a registered investment advisor. We are a software as a subscription company, and Andy and myself have traded for a long time. We trade our own accounts and also work for Trade Ideas, but we're not in a position to give out financial advice. So anything we see or anything you see or hear today is not to be construed as financial advice. It is solely our opinion. All right, we can help people get to the learning curve as quickly as live streaming product. I'm making kind of a seamless way for people to pop in with just a single link, whether they're on their phone or whatnot. So that's available Monday through Fridays. We have the afternoon webinars, such as we're doing now. Down here is the daily support session, as I mentioned, 12 p.m. Eastern each time. The actual web link for that is just the trade-ideas.com, and at the end of it put a / and a live, trade-ideas.com /live.
You must have hit your mute, Steve.
Yes, we have a lockdown. We have a lot of people in my house, and I'm trying to remind the people in my house that I'm broadcasting live. All right, the daily support sessions, as said, here is our live link right there, trade-ideas.com /live. Man and machine combined, just the weekly reminder that we're here to provide the half of this equation, and we are the machine part. The human part is up to you. The market is a crazy animal. It's a giant fire hose of data, but if you want to bring it down and tone out the noise and filter it down to what you want to see, this is the perfect product for you, whether you are a day trader or a swing trader. So just this, no man is better than a machine, and no machine is better than a human with a machine. It's the way it's going to be going forward, using the technology to curate our data, and the human being can basically take it from there. All right, so here's our agenda. Got a market recap. It was impressive when I wrote it this morning, but I'm going to still make a case that it still is. We'll talk about AI recap with Andy, and trade of the week in this week, and we'll check on the ones from the past couple weeks, and some more trading stuff. I'm going to talk about some more trading stuff, and we're going to talk about also the new contest kind of gamification, we call it, that is coming up, and we're all currently beta testing that. Actually right here is my, they didn't tell me that the starting gun went off yesterday, Andy. They didn't tell you either. Brad and Dan just started trading away, and we had to
trying to get a head start on us.
Yeah. Trying to get a head start. So basically, I'll talk a little bit about this. What did Steve do to try and catch up to those guys with a day-and-a-half handicap? I'll talk a little bit about that, because that's kind of interesting too. And it's going to become very applicable, because you guys are going to have access, at least you have access currently, to the live trading. Matter of fact, let me just show you something. Yeah, here's everybody in the live trading. Look at all these zeros. People are not taking advantage of it. You guys got to take advantage of this thing. It's really, really cool. But when the simulation trading contests start, that's where I think you guys are going to really probably kick into gear, when you start having prizes and things like that. So that's what we're going to talk about today. I'll just get right into it here with my pen and my moving average chart, starting with the S&P I wasn't here yesterday to help Jamie, so I didn't really have a lot of to build on from yesterday, other than what I told Jamie. My observations were, let's start with the Qs because that's really where I think we should start. Qs were the ones that have been leading us higher. They've been posting a couple of weeks of closes now above this declining 50-period moving average and the 200. So it's a solid move. And the reference I like to use here is that this is clean air. I mean, if you're a pilot, this is all dirty air, and you're coming up through the storm clouds, and all of a sudden you're busting into clean air here. For the most part, that's what we're looking at here in the NASDAQ. Now, a little bit of a hiccup today. Big close. Now, notice after hours we have bounced a little bit. So, I'm going to call it one of those close enough for government work closes. Let's see. The 10-period moving average, if we want to get technical, was 211.80, and our close was 211.50. So we closed 30 cents below the 10. I want to call that close enough for government work, and you can't really decide off that. And as I just showed you, after hours, we're actually bouncing. So this area right here might have almost just been that thing I always talk about, where the price level comes down and just kind of tap on the 10-period moving average to see, are we still in an uptrend? Now, this is a pretty ugly candle. Basically opened up and sold from the get-go and closed on lows, definitely engulfing the prior day. That's the downside of all this. So I'm giving you the good and the bad. The Qs are leading us higher. They're in clean air up here. A little bit of a threat today, but we'll see what happens overnight and bounce into tomorrow, and then downshift over to the S&P spiders. Same kind of a thing over there. A big open and then just sell from the get-go. Not an engulfing candle over there. And now also, very importantly, the NASDAQ got ahead of itself a little bit. The S&P still hasn't even touched its flattening 10-period moving average there. So, this morning when I wrote that impressive, it's impressive because we just keep kind of grinding higher, but the close was a little bit weak. We did give some back on the close, but in the bigger picture, I guess what I'm trying to say here, in the bigger picture, we're still making higher lows coming off this here. And remember back here, guys, I was talking about, is the bottom here going to be the bottom, or is it going to be an event like it is here, or is it going to be a process where you have to come back and retest it? Every single day that we spend above these moving averages, especially above the 10-period moving average, and over there for the Qs, even more, every single day that we spend above these key moving averages, the people who are waiting for the market to roll back over and test lows, it's going to be a little bit harder game for them, I think, because the market looks ahead 6 months down the road, and maybe it's seeing something that we're not, because it's fought its way through every single tangled moving average resistance block, and here we are. Yeah, today a bit of a hiccup. Let's see what tomorrow brings. All right. Let's see. Dow, 2 days closing above its 50-day moving average, using the diamonds or the DIA as a proxy there. And then the IWM was actually trying to play catch up recently. It's been, I think it was up the most of all the ETFs today. Let's see. It's eluding me. There it is, because it's in the green. IWM had a nice, look at that. Nice move. Actually, that's a horrible after hours. Let's turn that after hours off so we don't see that. There we go. But in the bigger scheme of things here, IWM, the Russell 2000, looks like today was its first day. Congratulations, IWM. You were able to close above. So now we have all four of our moving averages of our ETF indexes back above the 50. Again, that's another kind of a body blow to the shorts, in my opinion. They're waiting for that rollover, and I don't know if we're going to get it. I don't know. What do you think, Andy?
Are you talking about the overall market rollover?
Yeah.
I could see us. I mean, today, even though we're still above our moving averages, like you were saying, it was kind of an ugly candle. You open at highs and you close at lows, and so after hours, you got Google and AMD kind of battling it out. Google had some decent earnings, it looks like, and trading higher, and AMD is kind of now. So obviously Google is going to have a big impact on the Qs, leading them higher.
Mm-hmm.
But
that's what it was.
Yep.
And then AMD.
That's what's popping the Qs. AMD kind of looking ugly, just the opposite. But Google probably is worth, I don't know, probably 4 or 5% of the Qs, and the AMD is probably worth a percent of that. So Google's obviously going to have a bigger impact. But
Interesting.
yeah, it's today compare count. We did have about a 65% bias to the downside, so there were more sellers out in the market today. But it's just one day, and like you said, we did hold our major averages. So I think we have to wait to see what tomorrow brings.
Yep, that's always the case. They
Yep.
close the bell. We got to wait till tomorrow. Open
That's
them back
right.
up. Turn the machines back on. Well, somebody just asked, where is AI playing a role here? This is where we're going to hand
Yep.
it off to Andy, and Andy's going to talk about the few trades, the handful of trades that did come out today through AI, and what to look
All right.
for, and how they worked out. Yeah.
Sure. Okay. Now, like I say, pretty much every week, especially during earnings season, our focus, I'd say our, Steve and mine, we like to keep an eye on what's called the Neo AI. And the reason we do is because this is one that looks for volume. Okay, it looks for high relative volume. So it's looking for stocks during earnings. It's not looking for earnings play, but most earnings plays are associated with higher than normal volume. Logical. So I'm going to spend most of the time on that. I will kind of pull up the other AIs today after I go over the Neo, because I had somebody that came to me today and asked me, what do you think I should do? There's, with these hollies, what should I trade? And all I can do is give you kind of what we're seeing in the back office. Now, we are not a hedge fund, so we don't break down all the numbers for you over the last, so many, but we can tell you what we're seeing in the back. And Neo has been outperforming the other two hollies over the last, since November. So what is that? Basically, the last 6 months, Neo has been outperforming, but we're especially noticing this outperformance during earnings season, which, you can get a good solid 2 months during earnings season. So, then you have that month to 6 weeks where things can really slow down, if you don't have any news, you don't have any earnings play. So let's take a look at today. This is Holly Neo. The first one out of the gate was SNDX, breakout from the strategy called breakout long. All right, we pull this up and let's see, what do we have here? Okay, this was called 5 minutes. I'm on Central Time, so this is 5 minutes after the bell. I know for some people, even myself, I don't like trading that quick, out of the bell. I'd like to usually take myself about 15 or 20 minutes to get a good feel of what the market's doing. But I do make exceptions. And when I make exceptions is when there's incredible volume and you have a major breakout. Okay. Sometimes I will definitely cheat my rules when I have a situation like this SNDX. And what am I talking about here? Well, all you got to do, I did a webinar about how important the single stock window. When this alert is called, I'm immediately looking over here in my single stock window, and look here, the position and lifetime range, year range, 10-day, they're all green, which means this thing is exploding through all major ranges. So it's hitting all-time highs. It's doing it on huge volume. All right, let's take a look at the relative volume. You can see it right there. I got to be careful, don't hit my thing, but relative volume, just incredible volume. And now let's take back on the chart here and see what is happening on the daily chart. Well, looky here. Let me draw a horizontal line, pretty much right where Holly called it out. This thing is breaking out to an all-time high and doing it on huge volume. So, I never say there's no brainer trades, but this is a trade where, I am willing to take a shot at just because, of what I'm seeing here, the huge volume, the major breakout, and you can see had a great push. Holly did exit for profit save kind of early. You can see right here, she would have exited right when this green turns into a lighter green. So it looks like the exit price was $16.58. But like with most of these trades, we are finding out that if you hold these things until the end of the day, they pay you handsomely in most cases versus just getting out for whatever reason Holly does. So that was a prime example. You can see here look at the moderate profit percentage. That's up 26%. Big trade there. Not too many trades today. This is the way I like it, okay? And if I look at the other ones, we are going to have about 13 trades, but I love that Holly Neo only had a couple. Other ones didn't do much. 1 minute after this SMDX came out, we had a short in UPS, which to me looks good for a possible swing trade on the short side, but it never really did anything. You know, there's the call right there early in the morning, and never got anywhere near really the stop, but just kind of vacillated sideways, and then at the close it finally sold off and did go to lows. But not enough to really affect the P&L that much. And same thing with HLIT. This thing just really couldn't get anything going. It was a pretty big gap down. If you look on the daily chart there, there's the call, the short sell. Holly was thinking she was finally going to do kind of a kind of go pause go, where you had a draft down and you had a little inside candle, looked like it was going to break here, and then just kind of went sideways. Did break a little bit finally right here, but bounced back up. It pretty much just traded right at the entry all day. But guys, all it takes is one trade. This could have been a 26.22% winner. Let me pull up the other ones just in case. You can see here not a whole lot going on with the other ones, but I will pull them up so you can see.
I'm sorry, Rob had a good question, and I wanted to do it before you brought your screen back. He wanted to know, how is the AI calculating those particular share sizes for you?
Okay, great question. Yeah, I usually will go over this, but I did it last week, so let me just, great question. If you look over here in the channel, okay, this is based on taking 100 shares on every trade, okay? So this is why this P&L right here is 467 is greater than mine at 366. But what I do is I limit my risk, and you're saying, how do you do that? Well, if you go to tools and options, we have a little section called AI trade size. And you can choose dollars per trade, shares per trade. This is what Holly does, 100 shares per trade. I like to choose 100 risk on stop loss. And what that means is every one of Holly's alerts come with a stop, okay? And let's pull up this SNDX real quick, just to make it easier for you. Okay, so here, this was a pretty tight stop this morning based on the volatility. Actually, it was down to 14. So the alert was at 15.18. The stop was at 14. Michael's getting better with these stop losses. So what happens is, okay, the system knows I do not want to lose more than $100 on any trade if the price goes to the stop. Okay, so what it does, it automatically goes out there, calculates the size it should buy me, that if the price does go down to the stop price, I'm going to lose $100. So that's how it works. Okay, it just automatically goes out. UPS, same thing. Okay, it went out and bought 44 shares. Sorry, my internet is getting slow here. Anytime I'm screen sharing, the stop was way up here. So if the price would have gone to UPS, it would have I would have only lost $100, but it calculates the amount of shares to do so. And real quick, let's go to all segments. And you know what you're going to see here is nothing real bad, but just there was a good trade in Sky today. This one just kept going. There's your entry, pretty much motored all day after that. But we did have a lot of kind of stop outs where you can see it. That's why you're seeing $100. I didn't lose more than $100. So 3 really good trades and a bunch of trades that just didn't work. But you can still see, even if I put this on all, it would have still been a profit, because in moderate, because the winners were much greater. You can see that. So that's what it's all about, guys, cutting your losers and letting your winners run.
Hold that chart up for a second, just so before I take it back. So Rob asked a good question. Can you talk a little bit about how to use that window and what shares being purchased? But he also asked, I've been watching AI since the beginning of the year, and I'm just not quite sure how to use it. So let me tell you what I've been simplifying. Andy spoke earlier about the Neo trades, and he added the other ones here as well. I prefer Neo the trades as well because, as he said, the volume is always going to be there. The second part, which I wrote back to you, is I like to use a 15-minute chart with a 10-period SMA to determine the momentum if it has stalled out or not. And what you have here on that right chart is a perfect example, Rob, of what I typed back to you. It gave you no reason to get out. You see it pulled back there midday, but as soon as that line caught up to it, boy, it pushed the price right back up. So that helps keep you in the trade. It's a very simple technique to manage a trade. So we let the AI serve up the high probable volume trades with high volume, with high probability, is what I meant to say. And then you take it from there and look at all those notions of testing that level. That keeps you in the trade. But the moment, maybe that third from last candle, Rob, closed over and the red dripped and closed a 15-minute candle below that line, that is when I use the signal to get out. So we can make it as simple as that. And if you want to try that going forward, and if you have a subscription, start mirroring these trades, using our simulated trader, which we'll go ahead and I'll take this back now and show you my simulated trader right here. I mean, this is the Brokerage Plus simulated trader. You launch it from the new menu. Once you've launched it, you connect at the very bottom here. The trade ID is simulated trading. And before I talk about the trade of the week, I guess I'll just say why I have this up. Again, we have an internal competition going right now for trading in the vein of how we're going to do it in the future. The competition, essentially, you get $100,000 in buying power, and it'll be limited. We have to limit ourselves, but it'll probably be limited to 200,000 with margin. So I'm at 198,400 buying power with exposure. Excuse me. And as soon as I found out in our meeting today that I was behind the curve, I immediately said, that's not okay. I had to jump in and start making some trades. And kind of what I did is kind of what I talk a lot about. If I look at the executions and orders towards the end of the day here, you see some other names that weren't on here, Tilroy, PDG. So I bought, 6 or 7 things that I found interesting. I kicked out Love. It didn't work for me. And then I just kind of paid attention to what was working and pulling out the weeds that weren't working and the ones that were looking strong and bringing volume in. I stayed with those and doubled up and tripled up. So, Easy Core is a pawn shop, and this looks like a really interesting trade, and it's a COVID-19 play, I hate to say. So that one closed strong. If I can get a gap up in that, we're going to talk about this tomorrow. If I can get a gap up in Easy PW, I'm also in this in my other account, I will start to fade out of that gap and start to trade out, because what we're going to talk about in a minute here is the day-and-a-half rule. I don't want to get ahead of myself. Also, the way the market closed was a little sketchy, and it rolled over and closed pretty abruptly. So I kicked out one of my longs, and I bought some VIX as well to maybe hedge, just in case the market does roll over tomorrow. I can keep from losing the 1,500 or whatever that's open right now on a simulated $100,000 account. All right, so let me read a couple questions here that are coming in. Can you show Holly does analysis for one selected stock? It doesn't do analysis for one selected stock, Santosh. There's no input output for Holly other than the strategies we feed it, the strategy set of filters, and then the AI refines that through machine learning. And then the next day, we just wait and see what comes out in real time. There is a talk in the future for maybe some certain big stocks like Apple or Tesla to input and get some output, but we don't have that yet. Rob, any chance we could live during the day chat room? Yes, Rob, if you're not aware, every day, trade-ideas.com, write this down, trade-ideas.com/live. We have a noon hour where we pop in and take people's questions and do demonstrations and talk about all this. Any chance we could live during the day chat room to practice this? So there's that, and there's also Barry Anderson's live room as well. So that's available to you. Does the AI consider support and resistance when determining entry and exits? Maybe in the entries, Randy, but AI is not really determining too much in exits other than what's happening in the moment and trailing stops and things like that. Okay, cool, Rob, you'll try that tomorrow. And 3 different Hollies, and how can you follow them manually? Manually, you just got to follow them, as quickly as possible. When they trades come out, let me just show you. The best thing to do is to make sure you've got an audible alert set up in actions and set up sound, text to speech. I've got the volume turned up and I'll never miss a trade. And you get a period of time to turn over and enter into your other account. The only other option is the auto trading, of course, which is a whole other animal in itself. Do you look for something in particular in consumer sentiment window before entering? No, Andre, no, I don't really care about consumer sentiment because I'm seeing the consumer sentiment right in front of me. I'm seeing the footprints in the sand telling me that Easy Core is moving higher into clean air. It might have a little resistance up here if it can get there. I hope it does. But for now, it's showing me that it wants to move a little higher. Today's relative volume was 50% more than normal. So things are happening over there. I'm going to stay with it. A couple of great examples of it recapturing its 10-period moving average midday there. All right, I tried to grab a couple of questions, but I got to move on. All right, so there's my simulated account. We'll see how that goes. By the end of the week, we will add that up. So the trade of the week was on Live Person. Again, kind of another COVID play, I think. Companies are looking for instantaneous solutions for call centers, and that's what Live Person does. But we don't consume ourselves with the business plan or ratings or anything else. We consume ourselves with what does the chart look like. And so let's kind of zoom into that. Coming into the weekend, Live Person pretty much looked like that right there. Not much more we could say other than that. It was butting up against its 50, but was more, what we really saw here, and I'll show you the scan we got it off. Andy pretty much found it. You know, we have kind of a horrible little wedge that was starting to break out. And the scan that was picking it up is down here. Gosh, now I'm getting slow. It's called revenue growth fishing. And these are essentially companies that were beaten up, but they've got revenue, and their revenue has been growing at least the last quarter over quarter. So some interesting charts in there. I mean, if I can click through, SDC was one of them. Looked really nice a day ago. A lot of stocks on here are basing. I like that look right there. RC, Ready Capital. So a lot of basing and then popping out of wedges here. I think Carnival Cruise Line was one that would have fit that bill. So without teasing, I will certainly drop the code for how we found the trade of the week this week into the chat window. I'll just drop the cloud link in there. You guys know what that is. And so LPSN Live Person popped on there and looked really interesting. And so we had to pick one. They all kind of look the same. Matter of fact, in the email it said, I even told Andy, I said this. Let's just prove it. There are too many good setups right now on this scan, so take your pick. So for some reason, this seems to be a pretty good scan for the backdrop or the market environment we're in right now. So you can go through, you see a lot of things basing and possibly breaking out of wedges. Interesting little scan. So thank you, Andy, for that. But Live Person triggered for us very nicely, right on the open, right where it should have at the number. I think, yeah, right there, 51. So it opened. Worked really nice for us. My first thought was, okay, it's pulling back. Is the moving average that I talk ad nauseum about going to hold? It did. Nice. Okay, was the moving average going to hold here and push it higher? It did not. It got a little bit of choppy towards the end of the day, and that can happen towards the end of the day. What happened today was a pretty steep pullback, and I know somebody in Barry's room was asking about it. These are not day trades. The idea was to enter yesterday. So if you entered yesterday, you're not that far underwater at the moment. I would have loved to have seen it follow through, but this is a swing trade, and sometimes swing trades take a little time to set up. And I also say after 4 or 5 green candles, sometimes they need a rest. But the test that it put in today, I'm totally fine with, you guys. Nice, beautiful, long bottoming tail there. All it was doing was turning what was originally resistance, trying to create the process of consolidation, reaching down and touching it, and bouncing off of it to say, okay, this is no longer resistance. This now might become support. Maybe this thing, sideways is another day or two, but I think in the long run, it's going to be okay. So the point is, this one day red candle does not make the trade. This is a process, and it's going to take a few days to let that process unwind. Let's check in on a couple of last week trades. PAWS, P-A-A-W-S, silver trade is working very well. Continues to work. I've got some thoughts. We'll come back on that. What was the other one? Virtue. I've got some thoughts on this one too. Both of these kind of are going to come back in some topics. For those that were patient, we were looking to buy Virtue, right back here. It softened up on us, but it never breached our stop, which was the 20-period moving average. A little sloppy in here, and then it regained it, and yesterday had a nice moving day. Fortunately, gave it back today. But I'm not out. I'm not in it anymore, and we'll talk about that in a second. Let's see if I can catch up on questions. Does Andy answered that one? You consider more of a long trade? I'll go short if I have to, but the market's not telling me to go short right now, Andres. Can we still do this as a swing trade? Yes, of course you can. You want to say something, Andy?
No, you hit it right. Yeah, I was just saying, yeah, it's totally how long someone holds a trade is strictly subjective. It could be, you know.
Speaking of, let's talk about
individual. Yeah.
I've been trying to talk more about, real world trades. There was something that I normally don't trade very often, which is stocks under $5. But there was a story coming in having to do with a COVID-19 again, possible treatment, whatever. Let's take a look at this. I participated yesterday, and I wanted to walk you through the plan as to why I got out. So I was watching, you guessed it, stock gaps up on some interesting news, giant volume. I'm watching it right here. That candle was my signal candle. And then by the time I got in, it was like $1.85, $1.86, I think. And then I was real excited, but the plan all along, when these types of charts get going, these little guys go, you've seen it, when they gap up and close on highs, I needed it to close on highs, because that chance for the next day follow through on the gap up higher is much bigger, and that's what I was playing for. So there was our high for the day, but we really didn't close on highs. We had kind of more of a spinning top, so I was on guard. Today, opened up, traded down, and I said, you know what, get out. So it was basically, I got out kind of near the lows of that candle, but it was a 6-cent loser nonetheless. So it was a 6-cent free look to see if this could have followed through. Now, there are probably people that are in here that are going back and reading Yahoo message boards and digging into the news and trying to find a reason. I think I know one of them actually, trying to find a reason to stay in this thing. But I see no reason to stay in this thing. I think it's just going to sink back down into the gap. So I sold this one on the open because it just didn't do what I expected to do. All right. Question on the trade of the week. Any trade of the week should be taken the first thing on my, no, on the trade of the week, I'd say what the trigger point is. So it doesn't mean just jump in and buy it on the open. It's actually back at the buy zone. So I think he's saying, is this a good spot? Let's go back and take a look. That's a good question. Is this a spot for what we call a trade around, using a second option to get in? Yeah, it is. It really is, because I like the way it tested today. And as I said, sure, you're pretty much right there. After hours, we're 6 cents below the entry. That's a good question, Sheetal. I would say yes, you certainly could. You explain the trade of the week when it's alerts sent out. Yeah, Andy can write that. It's in the email, and it goes out and it gives you a lot of information. It looks something like this. This is the actual copy that went out. It gives you the chart, the reasoning, and the trades, and a little trader's tip. So let's move on. Yeah, we're losing time a little bit here. So those were the trades of the week. No reason to get out. Let me just go right back to the next topic, and that is, it's a mea culpa topic. What did I call it? The board trades. Yeah, let's kind of go backward. I'll just start with the board trades here. I'm going to give you some examples of, I talk a lot about swing trading and how you just got to let the trade develop, but even I am still guilty of getting out of trades too darn soon. And the trading gods have a fun way of looking back and pointing that out to me. Let me show you a few. Pets, a COVID-19 play. Got to buy your stuff online. Well, I was playing pets back here. This breakout, and then I was anticipating, rode this breakout, and then that got me spooked. I mean, technically it closed below that 10 period, and I think what I did is I held to my rules and I got out. And sure enough, the very next day it bounced right back up and just started showing incredible strength. So it's moved higher without me. I don't know what I could have done differently there. I really wasn't out of the money. A better stop might have been to let it go a little bit lower, but I got frustrated that it didn't follow through, and I thought to myself, oh, is this going to be one of those stocks that just moves forward and then back, moves forward and then back like it was doing back here? And I got tired of it. And so it treated me, it's looking back and having its way with me now. Another one was actually the trade of the week. I got out of Virch. We just talked about that one. I got out of it, I think when it broke down. I tried to adhere to my rules here. It closed below, Very next day, popped right back up and had a nice day yesterday. So, you know, I'm getting out probably a little bit too soon on these ones when I didn't need to. It's in the other account, and I had a wider stop. I could have let it go, but I didn't. And I get bored, and I just think, why let this thing go to my full risk when I can just take half a risk and get out and move on to something else? And that was my my reasoning. No, I did not use trailing stops, Shan. I spoke last week. If you're able to go back and look at the trade of the week last week in our YouTube library, I talked about 10 minutes about why I like to take profits when the stock is making a new high if I'm long, put my price out there and let them come get me. Because if you just take trailing stops, you add those up at the end of the month, you're leaving a lot of money on the table by not selling when you can, as opposed to when you have to and you get bad prices with everybody else. So, Carnival Cruise Line, another one. This is my favorite. This is the kind of one it would be on that scan that Andy has, the revenue growth kind of scan. Beautiful base. Literally, it looks like it found equilibrium here. And we all know the tighter the range, you follow the direction it goes. Well, here's the deal. I was in, I think back here, and I think this day got me out right there. Yeah. I didn't like the way that this might have been the day right here, because usually I try to enter a stock when it's above its moving averages. So I think I entered that day, got frustrated this day, and said, forget it. It hasn't gone by now, get me out. So, geez, it wasn't even close to my stop. I think I took almost a flat on that trade and left money on the table. So the point is here, guys, you really got to have patience when you're swing trading. It's very easy to talk yourself out of a trade for no good reason. You originally set a risk reward parameter, and all of a sudden you're no longer adhering to that. It punishes you, and that's not what I'm showing you now. I can't stand looking at these charts because I was once in them, and I'm no longer in them, and it just bothers me. So a little bit of a side note there. I wanted to talk about that. Let's see, what else did I have in here? Yeah, the day and a half. Now, Andy and I have been trading a style called swing scalping, and it might require sitting in and positioning and anticipating for 2 or 3 days. But as I said, once you get that big move, once you get moving day, is what I call it, the clock is ticking, all right? And what I mean by the clock is ticking, I'll use pause as an example. This was a prior trade of the week, and I got out because I got exactly what I wanted. And it's still kind of okay, but let me just show you what I mean. All right, getting into pause, I think I was in it either here, trade of the week was called back here, but here's our anticipation. We're anticipating a move higher. I'm gonna call this day one. That's breakout day, that's moving day. Let's go over to the 15-minute chart and look at it in that perspective. All right, here is day one. I'm gonna call it right there, moving day. Broke out, nice gap, looked great on the daily. It's our contention that the big moves that occur that we're looking for don't last longer than a day and a half. If you can get something to break out and then close at or near highs, chances are the next day you're going to get hopefully a gap and some follow through. But that follow through, as you can see, becomes short-lived. At some point, these people that made the profits are going to want to take profits, and they're going to do so probably before midday or even at midday. And so be aware that if you're trading, swing trading, and you're coming off a really nice day and you get a beautiful gap and it really pushes higher, start taking profits because it's probably going to be short-lived. We've just seen too many examples of day and a half. You want to see another great day and a half? Tilroy, everybody's been talking about this trade. There's our daily chart. There's moving day. Through the 50-period moving average, and no way was it going to let it close through the 50. It reversed it. Let's look here. Okay, so for everybody that was anticipating and long here, here's day one. They got moving day, closed on highs. You got your gap, and it didn't last longer than half a day. So this is something Andy and I see all the time. Just be aware of it. Try to maximize the moves when you're in them, because if you get too greedy and you start taking profits on trailing stops down here, you miss out on some pretty good upside limit orders that you can put out there. Anything you want to add to the day and a half rule that you and I have discovered, Andy?
Oh no, it's a great one. It's a great one. Now in the right market, let's say we get into a nice bull market. I'm sorry, can you not hear me?
No, go ahead.
Okay. Maybe I think our average hold time when Steve and I had our little piggybacking business that people were able to log on to our same trades. I think our average hold time was like 3 days. So in nice bull strong markets, maybe you can extend that time. have a technical reason for getting out of all of your position. Don't just get your 2-day move and just bail. I mean, and somebody was asking a recent question I was just answering, and by typing is saying, he asked, the AI normally gets us out of trades before big losses occur. What is the quickest way to get out of a stock when the AI is not being utilized? And Steve got a great example of using that 10-period moving average. Let's say you have a, yep, oh, there you go. Let's say you have a nice 2-day move. Well, nobody says you just have to get out just because you earn 10% on your trade. Get out of half and hold on to that other half, and then use that 10-period moving average. And if it breaks below that and closes below it on a 15-minute candle, then maybe you exit out of the other portion. But that's always a good rule. We always use that when we were trading at Today Trader.
Well, we're kind of using it now too on the other account.
Exactly.
Method, and I showed last week or 2 weeks ago our performance. It works. I think it was last week. All right, Sheetal is asking, how are you changing charts? All I'm doing is clicking, selecting the chart, and then typing. There's nothing to do than start typing when you get that window open. It just comes. All right, I think we're caught up. So what else was I going to talk about here on this kind of a trading segment? Day and a half, some examples. Yeah, we talked about the AYTU. That was that $1.80 trade that didn't work this morning. Again, those are a different animal. You're looking for follow through. Yeah, I'd love to talk about that. Stan, can you explain the fund that you guys trade? Well, being here at Trade Ideas, we have to do testing, and we have to do live testing sometimes. So we thought, Michael and Jamie and I and Andy said, why don't we just pool our resources and our minds into a single brokerage plus account through IB, and we'll use that as our testing. And maybe we'll be surprised if the 4 of us divide that equity into quarters and we each trade what we see. We don't talk to each other about the others. So what happens is sometimes I might be getting long, but maybe I'm getting too long and Andy's feeling a bit short. Well, he throws a few hedges in there, and before you know it, there's kind of a nice little check and balance in this little fund. And so the purpose originally was to start testing, okay? And what we did, we'll just day trade. We don't want to take overnight risk, but we saw real quickly that, we weren't doing that well day traders, because we're not day traders, we're swing traders. So we figured out another mandate to kind of just have simple overnight risk. And since we've been swing trading since January 1st, I mean, we're up, I think, over 60% on the year to date so far, doing exactly what we're talking about here. Positioning, waiting, getting day 1, fading out on day 2, day and a half, and then moving on to the next one. It's almost like surfing. You're paddling out, anticipating. Here comes the wave. You're riding it. A couple of turns, boom, you're out, and you're paddling back out looking for the next one. That's really the method that's worked. Unless you just want to marry yourself to something, great. Just be aware that you're going to get 2 nice days of really good push, and then you're going to get a day of pullback. And so if you don't like that and you want to get more in the jump rope and the pulse of the market, that's kind of what we're doing right here. Lastly, I'm going to show you, we're not going to have time to set alerts, but I have changed this name actually. Andy, take a look. I have added to the A table. I'm now calling it AKA the Phoenix. Why am I calling it the Phoenix? Because apparently this scan that I've used, which shows stocks that have great charts but also high short floats, it seems to be turning into the COVID-19 survivor list. I mean, let's just have fun here for a sec. What's that?
Interesting.
Yeah, iRobot. Well, you can't have it doesn't come into your house. All right. Go to class, can't go to school. Zoom media. Oh, Wayfair. You want to go shop for furniture? You can't. You want to pull out an app and do augmented reality and what your kitchen would look like with that table? Boom, you got Wayfair. You don't have to talk to people to do these things. Swift transportation. Yeah, I'm sure transportation's doing really well. Pets, we talked about this. My whole thesis was just proven right here, but I'm not participating. Not going to go to the pet store. You're going to use pets to get your pet supplies. So you can just go down the road here. And this scan is really just crazily turning into who are the phoenixes rising from the ashes of the COVID-19. Interesting. So
yeah, it is interesting.
I will share this, of course, for anybody that doesn't have it. We'll try and answer any more questions before I bring Scott back in, but that's kind of all I got for you today. The A table, AKA the Phoenix, rising from the ashes, giving us new ideas. And I forgot to do the paste. There we go. Does the Holly help for momentum trading? Yes, I believe if you just follow the Neo trades, you're going to find some momentum. You're going to find there was a great momentum to the downside. The long side had some decent momentum and closed actually strong. So if you missed the presentation there that Andy had, he showed you some good ways to use Holly for momentum trading. Have you got any recommended swing trading resources? RJ, just other than the swing, maybe Andy will drop his copy of this E-Trade swing trading ebook that we wrote, not E-Trade, but ebook. We'll drop that into the chat. So that'll be a good one for you, RJ. And is there a link? Joanne was asking about what's the deal with the Friday 3-hour session we used to do. Well, we're doing it now Monday through Friday, so we're doing 5 hours, but we're doing 1 hour each day at noon. So get a pen, Joanne, and write this down. It's trade-ideas.com/live. What that does is that's a redirect. It takes you right to the live YouTube stream every day. So just set your alarm and use that link. Steve, I've been in Barry's room, but what was the other? It's basically the same room, Rob. If you're in Barry's room, there's 2 ways to do it. You can go in through his the room he built, or you can just mirror and watch on the YouTube link that I was just talking about for Joanne. There is a sister broadcast on our YouTube stream. So that is the best way. What was the other room? The other room we mentioned, Rob, was us taking over, myself or Andy or Jamie or Michael or Sean. We give Barry a rest and we come in and just kind of give a noon recap of what we're seeing. But if people come in and ask questions, then we're definitely helping people with questions on the product and how to use it and make it better. So it's a great resource every day at noon to come in. What's the best resource to set up your screen? I would say the channel. Go through the channel and find the scans that you like. And each scan, like on one channel, the Heart channel has this monitor. You go in and you say, I like this scan. I'm going to save that scan to my cloud. And then you go to the next channel. And then once you've got them all on there, you can build them and load them into your current layout. Load from cloud, window by window, scanner by scanner, and start to create. You know, this is what I'm currently working with. I mean, this has evolved over a few years. So it's just the way I like to present the data to myself. All right, I think, oh, too fast, I'll type it out. Joanne, let me type it to you. I'll type it and I'll send it to everybody. It's just trade-ideas.com/live. And if you just go to that website, it redirects you right to the YouTube stream. Can you contain all the windows in one page? Only on our web version, John, but our web version I don't think is as good as the application version. But know that you can just, you know, I can move them all down at once, and I can bring them all back at once, or I can move them to a new screen by taking this window to the new screen and then saving it over there, saving my layout, and all the windows will follow, kind of like a queen bee. On the ebook, did we get the ebook? Let me get the ebook out there. Let me find my notepad and I'll get a copy to the ebook.
Yeah, I couldn't find it in mine.
Okay, hang on a second. We'll bring Scott in. All right, so I'll put it in the chat window. It's called ebook for swing, paste, and that's all I've got. So Scott, if you got your ears on, come on in and talk about what we got coming up.
Yeah, thank you. Sounds good. Grab a new free ebook. It's about earnings season. The gentleman who wrote it is Dave Mabe. He's our Chief Information Officer, and he's responsible for creating the odds maker, backtesting tool, and Holly, some other parts of our technology. He's got some good thoughts on how to use earnings seasons to your advantage, and there's a couple of cloud links inside the ebook that you can import into your layouts as well. So go to trade-ideas.com/earnings and get it. It's free. There's a test drive coming up on May 11th. It's a 2-week test drive, and these are very popular. It's a great way, if you're a standard subscriber, to try premium for 2 weeks. It's a great way for non-subscribers to try everything that Trade Ideas offers for 2 weeks. And the $8.99 that we charge for the 2 weeks covers the exchange data fees for your real-time data and our additional support overhead. So go ahead and take advantage of it. The next one won't be until the second half of summer. So we do these once a quarter. So don't miss out. If you miss this one, it'll be months and months until the next one. There's a podcast. We just released a new episode over the weekend. It's got some advice on how to get trade ideas on any platform. Just go search for Trade Ideas Podcast wherever you listen to your pods. Add us as a subscription. Download the latest episodes. Stay tuned for the next one. There's a code. It's good until this time next week, April showers. If you decide you want to go ahead and get started with a subscription, this is a way to save or do an upgrade. It's all caps because it is case sensitive. So if you want to upgrade to premium or you want to start a subscription, just write that down and use it before next Tuesday. You can follow Steve on Twitter at TodayTrader. We've also got at Trade Ideas and some other handles. If you follow at Trade Ideas or Steve, you'll see the other ones. Facebook.com/Trade Ideas Pro is the page to like on Facebook and share what we post with your friends. And any questions at all, always go to info@trade-ideas.com and send us an email. That's the best place to send it. It goes into our help desk software, gets routed to the appropriate team member to help you out. We'll get this recording up later on tonight or tomorrow, and you get an email reminder about how to find it tomorrow. Thank you. Thanks, Steve. Thanks, Andy. Thanks.
See you then.
Later.
Thanks, everybody. See you Thursday.